We now return to Hi-Fi Rush.
Already in progress.
Chilling out at our operation/hangout.
Okay, ready when you are, Peppermints. What's the grand plan?
All right, check this out.
Corn!
Mission report.
Oh, this is pretty nice.
The Spectra program is, like I said, top secret. And only the top brass of the company have info on it.
Ah, the League of Evil Executives.
Spectra could be anything.
Let's just say someone on the inside.
So we've got Wolverine, we've got a Mega Man X boss.
We're gonna go back up to the production facility. Using my skills and your
But yeah, I love these
break
mission
into the
reports,
production head's
little
office.
briefing
That's right. And
scenes
with
that we
our
got.
luck, she's busy cleaning up your mess at QA and won't be there. We access her computer, steal the files on Spectra, and get out.
Cool. I wasn't listening, but sounds quick and easy.
Great. While you're away, I can sync up with your tech. career
Chai, you're an
I figure
inspiration
out
to
some
us
new
all.
tricks for ya.
But not the good kind like you want.
On a mission this dangerous? I'm not that stupid. I'll leave that to you.
All right. Wait, are you implying?
I think she's really
Took it.
inferring.
Took you long enough, dumbass. Yeah!
I'm here, baby.
Who are you
Superhero
talking
landing.
to? Just head to
I do
Rex'
love,
office.
like,
You can see it up
one of the
there.
fun things about, like, watching these cutscenes, whenever 808 is in them,
You'll have to
and
head
when
to the
she's
main
not
production
being
building,
used as,
but I'll
like,
be your
basically a
guide.
radio
Try
for,
to
like,
keep a low
Peppermint or
profile.
to talk to Chai, is to just see her, like, actions be in sync with Chai. And, you know, like when they did the landing or jumping out of the manhole.
Of course,
Even the
everyone's...
facial expressions are just so goddamn adorable.
I mean, everyone's in sync with each other. It's a rhythm game.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I hope you appreciate me doing all the time is constantly dashing in rhythm.
Yep.
If you hit the machine,
That's also important because there's another Wall of Fame achievement tied to it.
take
Of
it from a
course there
master
is.
Like me.
Yeah. I mean, it is also like the fastest way to go about getting from point A to B. It is one thing that I do kind of wish the game had, which was, you know, maybe just like hold the dash button and you could go into a sprint where like Chai's footsteps move like on every 8th note or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be an R&D.
But otherwise, I mean, whatever. I played Shinobi on the PS2. You gotta dash all over the place in order to get somewhere. So like, this wasn't like out of the ordinary for me.
I've done my time in hell, so I know I'll see heaven.
Hey,
Yeah, there's also vending machines that we can bust up. Mostly it's just to get like additional money, as well as to create like a huge mess of like crushed cans spilling out.
Was
Which,
that
by
the
the way-
machine that they're meant to be raging against?
But we have created a garden that like that our employees are not allowed to spend time in. Fuck you.
That is probably the most relatable part of this game so far.
Oh yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff on that level. Just
Like,
dumb corporate bureaucracy.
I used to work at a place that had really nice lawn with benches, and we weren't allowed to sit on the benches because apparently they were afraid in case visitors came along and we were making the place look
Know
untidy.
your history.
Jeez, wanting to yell.
Just keep
Kid you
credit
not.
where it's due.
I hated that place.
Is there nothing more infuriating than businesses that like have to operate on the idea of like their employees need to always like quote unquote look busy?
I mean, plenty of call centers I've worked at. Not front facing, no interaction with the customers face to face, and we still had to come in business dress. I will never get that as long as I live.
Yeah, that is still like just absurd. So let's try and get our reverb gauge charged up, which like beat hits obviously contributed to that quite a lot, as was established in the first track. It's definitely something where like because of like how many enemies you can hit with a reverb hit, with a beat hit, I should say, like that contributes a lot to your decision making as far as which combo to use, so you can get like a beat hit that is either more linear or like more crowd hitting.
Yeah.
So do I use it? Or like, I forget if I save it for the very end or if I somehow just decide to... Oh, no, I think I had already... Yeah, I used it earlier. I wasn't sure if I was going to get enough to fill the reverb gauge again. But whatever, I got all S's. And you do get some bonus points as well, like if you have a lot of reverb gauge left over. So if you're really, really good and you care about like that extra pittance of points, you totally could just ignore using reverb attacks altogether. You know, just do really good like stringing of combos.
Yeah, games like this I usually wind up ignoring the ultimate charge-up attacks or whatever, just because I forget they exist.
Yeah, but they do make sure that you use them here because it is like, you know, the score multiplier is really good, and you lose your charge immediately as soon as the fight's over.
I was built for some
Tiny hands.
heavy lifting. Will they fire me? Oh no, don't fire me. I would rather use some help right now. My job is on the line.
Hey, you seem to be doing well. That stack hasn't tipped over.
I mean, she's doing better than I could possibly do with a stack of boxes that big. They would be, if it was me, they would be on the floor and I would be on fire.
Thank you, Bill and Ted.
Wasn't sure if I heard that right or not.
Nope, they definitely said excellent, followed by a guitar riff that sounds suspiciously similar to what happens in those movies.
Okay, not just me. Excellent. Good to know.
Yeah. I know I also missed an opportunity to, like, I guess sneak in little, like, Bill and Ted in the corners of the screen as it cues in, but whatever. I try to not go overboard with any, like, funny editing shit, you know me. The more sparingly used, the better.
Now, after that one moment in the shadows of the damned LP, I don't think you'll ever top that.
Yeah, to this day, I still remember the "We'll be right back," and I'm like, God, am I ever going to top this?
Nope.
Anyway, here's robot sobbing sounds for 25 minutes.
Just like me, for real.
Just the horrible existential crisis of the robots that were made as a result of automating the work process suddenly being used to automate their own work process. Where does that leave the robots?
Crying in the corner for 25 minutes, apparently.
Yep. Fun fact about, like, some of these cans. They do get kicked around.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
That also factors into, say it with me now, another Wall of Fame achievement. Where there are trash bins that are next to some of these vending machines, and if you're able to kick them into the trash cans, you do get a little reward for that.
What kind of Mega Man Dash bullshit is this?
Yeah. Anyway, who here has played as Nero in DMC4?
Played Nero to the point where I got to playing as Dante and wanted to go right back to playing as Nero.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is pretty overwhelming at that point as far as just options.
I just love the fact that I can beat someone so hard, I spike them into the air, jump up after them, beat them some more, and then pile drive them into the ground from midair.
Yeah, Nero's game plan is cool. So is his Dante. I know that Dante's still like the face of the series, and definitely it would be a crime if he was never playable in a DMC game. Yeah. But there's always room for both of them. Just make a DMC game that goes by like the same structure of Resident Evil 1, where you get to choose which character you play as for the entire game, and they're the main character. Boom, problem solved.
Would have been so much better.
Yeah, would have been so much better than having to play as those two characters and then V.
Yep. I could never get to grips with V's gameplay. Just could not do it.
I got to grips with it enough to know that, like, even after pushing it as far as I could, it's like, yeah, this is just too limited.
Yeah.
But it's like, at least far from being the worst thing to play in an action game. I'd still rather take V's levels than any of the fucking, like genre shift diversions in Bayonetta 3.
And I will say Crimson Cloud, one of the best songs in the OST.
It's one of the best songs, and V, weirdly, it's frustrating how V somehow gets the best levels in terms of like layout and like gameplay opportunities for combats.
Like, I want to like you, and you're making it so difficult.
Yeah, it's like, goddamn, like you're fucking, like, your summoner gameplay style should be cooler than it actually is. Somehow fucking, like, Astral Chain does it way better, but that game has, like, an entirely different set of problems.
Yeah.
Can I at least find a back route, maybe?
I need to get around to playing that properly at some point. I
Looks like a path up
dicked
here.
around with it for like 20 minutes and kind of liked what I was doing, but I get the feeling that it's one of those games you really need to sit down and experience for a couple of hours.
It is probably the worst offender of the first playthrough is not the real game syndrome that like a lot
really?
of these action games have.
Yeah. See, when that's done right, it's fantastic. But when it's done poorly, then it just makes you wonder what you did with the last 10 hours of your life.
It's like Kamiya, Mikami, and Itagaki are the only three people that seem to have ever understood that concept and do it right. Like, their games are like, yeah, there's a difference between the first playthrough when you're being, completely fresh to it, but also, as well as playing it on a fresh playthrough, knowing what to do, building a route around that, and, like, executing it in a way where it feels like, yeah, like, the progression is part of the game, and you're not being like, you're not dreading the idea of ever having to play this game again without all of your stuff at the beginning. Because chances are, the beginning of the game is perfectly balanced around the idea that you have the bare minimum tools at the start.
Oh yeah, like I would, when I was playing Devil May Cry 3, one of my favorite things to do was, any playthrough, once I was like right at the end of the game, I'd go back and just completely dunk on Cerberus for about an hour straight.
Yeah, like, those early levels change so drastically when you have everything to the point where, like, that's actually the better way of playing those games.
Yeah. Just
Which
going
all
back
it all roots back to, from my perspective, to the core problem of these action games decided that you need to have an always present level select when you start the game. When that's the thing that ruins the presence of economy and pacing in these to begin with. Like, if you really want that level select, just don't make me buy my shit all over again, please.
And also, it's like, it basically encourages grinding at a certain point if you're really struggling with a boss. Because
that's
like,
the biggest issue.
Going back to Devil May Cry 3, we all struggled with Cerberus right at the beginning. Like,
especially those people that didn't play the special edition version when the difficulty levels were shifted around.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, believe me, I 100% right there. And yeah, I would basically just grind out the first two stages again and again and again just to get any kind of decent moves.
Hello there.
And I did not feel like I was having fun for a big chunk of it. Of course, you know, like a year or two later, the special edition comes out, I play that, and I'm like, oh, this game's much better.
And fast. But it also attaches very easily to Vandalay security robots.
Thank you, Smidge, for starting to talk about the thing that we kind of glossed over when we started talking about Nero, because he got his Snatch ability. It's not used just for traversal. It works exactly the same as Snatch does already in combat. Or, well, more like the opposite. It doesn't pull enemies to you, it always pulls you towards your enemies.
Oh god, what game is it I'm thinking of that enemies that are of a certain lightweight class will be pulled towards you. Enemies of a heavier weight class, you'll be dragged towards them.
I think that straight up is Nero's Devilbringer in those games. Like, yeah, if it is on the larger enemies, it does pull you to them, but the small fry always get pulled to you.
Yeah. It's not the one that immediately came to mind, but it does happen in that as well. That's gonna bug me.
Yeah. But yeah, the little magnet grab, you know, not a surprising innovation in terms of like action game mechanics. It's something we've already seen, but it's used well. Again, it always works on beat, and there is an ability that you can get later on that adds a bit of extra utility to it that is, I think, actually makes it work a lot better in combat.
It's a Hot Pockets dispenser.
No, but I was at a loss as far as like something witty to actually say in response to that. But no, the idea when we get that is you press the button again when the snatch pulls you to the enemy, and you'll vault over them to their backside. And that's actually really good because it'll confuse enemies for a brief moment, and like even has a chance of like interrupting their attacks because like that animation takes priority of them going, huh? Where'd he go? You know, free combo opportunities.
Oh, so that statue right out of God Hand.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's very similar to that. Kind of like the red orb caches in Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
You know, kind of similar thing, but without the changing expressions.
Or even the Devil May Cry 4, the orb statues.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say, if you're going to steal from the best.
True. Yeah, you can obviously see the obvious DMC influence. I mean, even at Tango, like the people were... Oh yeah, there it is. That's what I was talking about. 808 doing air guitar. She's so adorable. I love it.
Yeah, all my cats do is just scream for treats.
But yeah, Magnet Grab can be pretty good, especially if it's like you do an attack that launches an enemy to the air, so you can use it to immediately pull you. And because of how important positioning is with like enemy attacks, like having to make sure that you're not going to get hit by them on beats, it's an interesting thing with this game where like I've thought about it, especially in the context of like pulling stuff from DMC and Platinum games. I guess more Platinum specifically with this example, but you know how Bayonetta pioneered the idea of dodge offset, where you can basically preserve your combo when you do a dodge so that it doesn't reset when you start attacking again.
One of my favorite things about that game.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on whether or not I feel like it would be of benefit to this game, because there's a lot of moments you end up in where you're trying to get out a beat hit, but it's timed poorly, and that even if you commit to it, you're gonna get hit by like a stray enemy attack. So you have to dodge out of it, and that cancels out any damage opportunity you could get. I've wondered about if like that would be something good to have, but I also feel that would kind of cause something to be lost from this combat, where, you know, because like I feel it would probably end up in the same situation you end up in Bayonetta or these other games where it's just like, alright, I guess I'll just cycle the same two moves using dodge offset and like not miss a beat that way.
Yeah.
But at least if you have to drop a combo for the purpose of avoiding damage, then at least that you're having to quickly think, okay, what else can I use that will get out some quick damage without leaving me vulnerable? Because not every game, especially Platinum's own games, if we're keeping it a buck, not every fucking game needs to be Diet Bayonetta. They really don't.
It's one of the problems with this kind of action game, whatever you want to call it. They find a niche and they stick to it. You know, that they're all very much stuck in a well-worn groove. And don't get me wrong, it's great. Like, I would not be playing these kind of games if I didn't enjoy it. But after a while, it's like, okay, let's try something new. Let's, you know, like, I've played this game 8 times this week. Come on.
Yeah, like we're just not getting much of any games out there that are like pulling weird experimental shifts in action design like God Hand does.
Yeah, after a certain point, things are refined to a level that you just can't go any further. So it's either you stick with that or you mix things up.
Yeah, and that's always like the really big sticking point where like I always have like these discussions with friends of mine who are like really big action game aficionados, Action Jacksons we like to call them. But and it's always the matter where it's like I rate this game very highly, probably the highest out of all in my friends group, while they're like they think the game, they're like, yeah, the game's good, but kind of for what you talked about, like it is so refined and focused on like the same core ideas that we have seen in other games for years now, that like it's not really pushing it beyond like kind of basic stuff.
Yeah,
but
like it's
but, like,
still good, but you need more.
Yeah, but like the thing that Like, I would be in agreement with that if it did not have the rhythm element, because it gets back to how it's a matter of recontextualizing what is familiar versus making something that is entirely new in a familiar framework. Like, think about, like, we mentioned the game already, but think about Shinobi for the PS2.
I try not to, because then I start screaming.
Well, okay, I think about it in as much of a positive light as you can think of, especially with how I'm going to talk about it. Think about how that game, in terms of its tools and mechanics, is probably not too far off from how this is, if not even less in terms of mechanics. Like, it is probably the most bare minimum action game you can make in terms of player tools. Like, you have an attack, you have a jump, you have an evasive dodge, like a very small set of reliable combos.
Shuriken
like,
attack
that's
as
it.
well.
Yeah, your projectile, absolutely. Which, weirdly enough, this game does not have a dedicated projectile button, which I feel is that I think that's actually more of a missed opportunity in this case. But not to derail from my own comparison, in Shinobi, the thing that stands out about that game and its sequel isn't like the individual tools you have. It's the fact that you have like a very important system-wide mechanic that governs how you use those, and that is Tate. The idea that your attacks become stronger as you kill enemies, and the enemy placements in those encounters are very deliberate, so that you have to think about, okay, what is the order I am going to like attack these, and like how can I keep my attack buff going without not have it drop completely. That's what makes Shinobi fun, when it's not frustrating you, obviously. But,
which is the other 99.9% of the time.
Yeah, well, for me at this point, it's mostly the bosses, just because like the game's scoring encourages you to not attack them for the majority of it, which is such an awful fucking thing. But I think of that game how it tries to encourage you to approach fights a different way, to be of a similar analog to how Hi-Fi Rush encourages you to approach fights in a way that's not the same as in an action game normally, where you're not trying to get out high actions per minute to do whatever is like the craziest over-the-top thing imaginable. It's like you're trying to choreograph basically like a fight to the music. And I am willing to forgive like this game, especially with it being like the first entry of what would have been a brand new series. I emphasize would be for obvious reasons.
Yep.
That
Depressing reasons.
Because a sequel, you know, if it was exactly the same as this, I would be more critical, because I'm like, okay, you obviously spent all this time on the first game, like trying to prove to the audience that this is a concept for a game that works. And I think it does. Like, I have played through this game thoroughly twice now at this point. The second time, obviously, for the purposes of the LP. That, you know, there is so much more unique mechanical stuff that you could add on to this to make it stand out and, like, have more sauce to it. Something that gets it closer to the level of style that like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry has in mechanical complexity. Because now you don't have to spend the entire game reinforcing to the player that this is how fighting to the rhythm works.
Yeah, you've already got the groundwork set up, so really just taking it from there. But the other thing that needs to be remembered is that, like, Arkham Knight did that, where it assumed that if you came in, you'd already played the first two games to death, and it threw you in at the deep end. That would be the other extreme of, okay, how do you like them apples? And the answer is, not that much.
Yeah, well, a lot of the things that like weren't too fond of with Arkham Knight were like when it was having to onboard you with the stuff that had nothing to do with what you came to those games for in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
Like everyone already has like their piece, but they've written on about how much they fucking hate the Batmobile.
Yeah. For me, it was just the fact that there was too much to the game, and fights just turned into like 30-man clusterfucks, which just was not fun.
Yeah, that, and of course, like, all the other stuff that they tried to do that was new, where, like, if you were someone that was actually into just having more refined, harder versions of the usual combat or predator stealth sections, you're probably more frustrated by the fact that, like, it's just not focusing on them even more.
Yeah.
So it's not really pleasing much of anyone, really, no matter what side you're on.
Yeah, it's probably one of the worst, highest rated games out there. No, it's not don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game, but it tries to do so much, it winds up doing nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of depressing, really.
Yeah. And even then, it's like, I've definitely gotten to a point where, like, I'm just not as into, like, wanting to, like, replay the Batman Arkham games that I think are good.
Yeah.
Because I think I've gotten enough of my fill, as well as, like, my tastes have changed enough to know that, like, yeah, this combat is, like, outside of the easy sell of you feel like Batman shtick. It doesn't really do anything for me anymore.
I still go back to Arkham City every so often just to do some of the combat and the Predator challenges. But that'll just be like, I feel like doing that this afternoon, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I never go back to it for like another 8 months.
That's fair. Yeah, sometimes it's alright just like loading up an otherwise okay game that's got some good stuff to be like, just to dig around for a bit, remind me of how it is, and then just move on.
Yeah,
not obsess over it.
Just really scratching an itch rather than wanting to get into a full game, you know?
An itch is a good way to describe that. Yeah, definitely. More Rekka.
Rekka doesn't care about your facts or your feelings.
This is why Rekka's God is right.
Also more trams! Fuck you!
Alright.
Rekka is bored with this train shit.
See that door? Might be able to bypass security on that one. It's a rough.
You know, they say at Vandelay Industries that all products are created equal.
Exciting.
But then you look at old Vandelay, and then you look at Vandelay now with Rekka, and you can see that statement is not true.
Oh god, I actually know what that's referencing.
Yeah,
Now you look
everyone
at
loves
me.
Scott Steiner's math. And then cue another random Scott Steiner clip of him just like smashing a ceramic duck, shouting, "I hate ducks!"
He was drugs.
Chill out.
Drugs incarnate.
Oh yeah? Well, look ahead.
Time for more diversion that is short and sweet, and as always, in time with the music. That camera angle always just screams Sonic Adventure to me.
Oh yeah. Hey,
Like,
look,
that is exactly the thing that plays when, like, the camera quick cuts to you, like, on a grind rail or, like, or on a little big-ass
Loop-de-loop.
loop or some shit.
Yeah. Just, hey, check out what we can do with 3D.
Yeah. Check out the cool stuff we do with 3D where you don't play the game.
Yeah. This game sure would be good if it was playable.
Yeah. Oh, well, we got, like, Sonic fans who are now indie developers and way too obsessed with that gameplay that are arguably doing a better job with it.
That's not like they can do much worse.
Just without, you know, the marketability of Sonic.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck is supposed to look at Spark the Electric Jester and go, ah, what a memorable mascot.
And there will always be a place in people's hearts for Blinks the Time Sweeper.
I appreciate Rekka not abiding by the borders of her cut-in.
Fucking roll, Shy.
Yeah, for real, like, presentation on this game is always just so off the charts. It's so good.